Hey, we're back with the Joypreneur Summit. I know you've been having a great day, just like I have. How cool is it to be able to see all these interviews and hear this wisdom from all these different mindset, weight loss, healthy eating, relationship, passive income, business coaches. I could go on and on and on. Well, you wait because we are just getting started, and I can hardly wait to introduce you to Ryphna. Before I do, I want to give you a few announcements that are really important that are going to make your experience a lot better. First of all, if every one of our speakers is giving a free gift, and every one of our sponsors is giving a free gift. If you've been missing out on those free gifts, it's because you need to go to the link in the description. Look in the description, go to the link in the description, sign up. You will get a page that'll tell you how to get everybody's free gifts. And I'll be sharing more about Ryphna's in just a second. Also in the description is how to join the Positive Mindset Entrepreneurs Club. We are a club of people who get it that mindset matters most. So if you are tired of building your business with the hustle and the grind and the pain and the agony of like forcing yourself to do stuff you hate to do and all of that kind of thing, then you definitely want to get on board with the way that we're building our businesses, which not only is more fun and more joyful, but helps you to build your business faster. And when you do, when you sign up right now, I will send you this pen, the pen of expectation, in the mail. The pen of expectation, everything you write with it will come true. And yes, we ship worldwide. So you can definitely get that no matter where you're living in the world. So do check it out. Do check out those links. Do sign up. And let's light up that comment section too. I see y'all coming in here. Say hello. Tell me where you're listening in from. I'm glad that you're able to join us. We are going to have a fantastic time. If you're already in the club, then you are no stranger to Ryphna. Ryphna is one of our top creators. They are a chaos dragon, non-binary, reality hacker, DIY, nerd, Wyrdling, game enthusiast. They celebrate creativity, curiosity, joyful self-expression in every adventure. And what you're going to notice as I introduce them, and you're going to see, we're going to pop up on screen here, they are off camera. Now, why would they be off camera? Well, because one of our tenets in the club is that you can build your business your way. Ryphna doesn't like being on camera, so they don't have to be. That's how we roll. You can do anything you want to, and especially in this interview, you're going to understand what it means to be a Wyrdling, what it means to be a dragon tinker, what it means to do things despite conventional wisdom and build your business your way. So without further ado, please welcome Ryphna St. John. Yeah, Ryphna. Whoop, 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 whoop. The crowd goes
Yay!
wild.
Hey,
Hey,
I
I'm
was
so
about to
glad you're
say you
here.
can expect that pen in the mail.
Yeah, right. I love it. I'm so glad that you're here, Ryphna. I think I have to start out, of course, right away defining for everybody. I would like you to just tell everybody what is a Wyrdling to begin with, because you're definitely head of the
Yes.
chief
Um,
executive officer of the Wyrdlings.
yes. So a weirdling is well I made kind of my own definition of what a weirdling is. And so it comes from the word weird and the word and the suffix ling, weirdling. But I use the old version of the word weird, which now mean strange or out of the norm. But it used to mean that it was someone that was touched by otherworldly forces, like that was touched by
Oh,
destiny, that was touched by
interesting.
the odd, the unusual, things that are not of this world. So for me, a weirdling is someone that has that but embrace it. They embrace it, they step into it, they find power into it. And so they are a person that sees the weird and embrace it and then use it as a power to control their destiny.
I did not know that history of the word weird with that spelling. That is so flippin' interesting. One of
Yes.
the things I love about you, you live your life from a creative basis because you are, you have your fingers in a lot of pies. You're an artist, you're a writer, you're a game enthusiast, you're a world builder, all of these different things. And I think you've really defied convention in that you don't feel like you have to pick one thing and be that thing. And so, can you speak to that philosophy and to those people who may feel like they're multi passionate and don't want to pick one thing?
Yes. I never picked one thing because I could never stop at one thing. Not that I didn't try, but it's just I get so first I get bored, but also it's because I'm so interested in so many things. If you show me something, it will link to 10 other things. And I feel that focusing on just one thing removes so many dimension into life. It's like it's like living life in two dimension. I mean, a photography is great, but a 3D person is different. They have so many layers, not just because they're physically three dimension, but because they have a whole history around them, which create the fourth and fifth and more dimension. And so for me, when I'm interested in animation, for example, well, it also linked to my background as programmer, where I'm gonna use that spirit to create loops and create different interaction. Like my little puppet right now can actually be animated in different expression. And that comes from me thinking animation and programmation. Like it's not just one thing. So for me, when you start being interested in a lot of things, you're just opening up the world. You're taking something that might be textbook two dimension and you're creating something that is multiple dimension. It's no longer programming and it's no longer animation. It's something that exists in between them. And I personally always felt like I live in between things. So it's where I thrive.
I love that. I love that so much. And you actually just set me up perfectly for my next question to you. So first of all, I want to address that so many people in the club are multi-passionate. And so everything you just said speaks to them so much. And I was going to ask you, like, did you ever have a quote unquote normal job? And you started talking about being a programmer. How did you make that shift? For how did you actually make that leap of saying like, okay, I'm not going to be this person who does only this, and to living the lifestyle you're living now?
Well, first it never really worked for me. So even when I was in school at some point, um, you know, carrier people come see us and start interviewing the group and ask, how do you see programming and stuff? And you have people that are like, oh, it's a great way to organize things, it's a great way to automate things. And when they got to me, my answer was, it's like brush to a painter. There's so much potential. And that was, very early 2000s. It was still very structured. Even video games were just getting ramped up. They were still kind of a little bit obscure for the mainstream, but they were ramping up. And I was seeing so much potential that I was like, yeah, that it's great that it organized spreadsheets. It's great that it automate things, but there's so much more in there. And the career people were like, what are you doing in IT? So when I went into the job, I was doing my job, but I was always finding ways to like see the person behind the computer. Like, sure, okay, your machine doesn't do what you want, but what is it that you want? Like, talk to me so that I can translate it for the computer
I
because it's
love
two
it.
different language, right?
And so when you left, like, were you scared to leave? Did you feel like, am I making a huge mistake, or was it more kind of like, I just cannot do this anymore? You know,
Oh,
was there just no question?
it was I'm tired of it. I'm so
Yeah.
exhausted of it. Not the programming itself, but all of the structure around it. I was tired of it. And I wanted to explore things and to have all the space to explore. And so I started exploring, and at this while I was still working, I had started helping people discover their creativity, discover their mindfulness. And I was doing that coaching on the side, and I was like, well, I'm going to make the coaching work, and I'm going to just jump and do everything else too. So it's a mixed box like that where I do everything I want to do.
Well, that's I know, this is what I love about you is that you're such a good example of saying, "You know what, this week I'm making art, next week I'm writing stories," and you just do whatever you enjoy doing. And, you know, so when you look at your day, like, would do you look at your day holistically, or how do you just follow your feel good as we talk about in the club, or do you just what kind of I'm thinking you don't really have any systems. You're just going from feel good, but I don't want to put words in your mouth. How does your day unfold?
So there's kind of two parallel things that happen. First, it's of course it's my feel good. It's 100% my feel good. But there's also what people come and ask me. And I am someone that love helping people. So when someone show up and say, "Well, I want an icon for," I connect to their want, and I jump into that inspiration, and I use that to fuel everything else, because then I'm like, "Oh, well, that was a cool project. What other project that have the same resonance can I jump into this week?" And I start just exploring different things. So the more I help people, the more it opened doors of things I didn't see before. And it's not because I'm not interested in everything, it's because I was just not on that wavelength, right? So,
Right. I love that because I love when you say it's not that I'm not interested in everything. Because seriously, I feel that way sometimes too. It's like, okay, how many things can you study at one time? But you do. It's a great life. One of the things I know that's like a tenet to your success is that you really believe in experimentation. And so, can you talk a little bit about why experimentation is important and how you implement it?
yes, so experimentation it's the only way forward. Like you can learn things from book until the cows come home, but it is when you put your hands in it that you're going to make it yours. That it's going to make sense in your reality, because your experience are not the same as the person that wrote the book, really, or any other teachers. And so they can't read your mind and give you exactly the path. They can only give you their path, and their path is not you. They, for example, maybe you worked in healthcare. Well, if you learn computer from someone that have worked in healthcare, it's going to be different than someone that worked in accounting, for example. And that's important to know. And when you create, maybe one is going to be for comforting and the other one's going to be for laughing. And it's going to be you that's going to bring that to it.
Yeah. Yeah, and
It's,
it reminds me of almost too like the part of the creation that we're doing here, in my humble opinion, on planet Earth, is that we are human consciousness bringing our own individual perspective to things, and so we're part of the creation, and experimentation and experiencing things gives us the opportunity to put our own perspective into it, which makes it a whole new thing. You know what I mean?
yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And if we think that we are all one, some people believe that, some people believe other things, but let's say we are all one, we can't experience everything if we don't take the time to each be different so that we can experience one slice of the pie. And all together, we create that huge, gigantic, infinite pie of experience, right?
Yes, yes, it's so true. I just love that so much. I had a friend one time, she was married to a pilot and she had a couple of kids and they were living in Italy. And I said, if I was gonna live a lifestyle, like be married to a pilot and have a couple of kids and live in Italy, I would be you. Like I would I'm glad that you're living that experience because I get to live vicariously through you,
Uh,
having that experience, like this concept of we're all one, we all get to experience each other's experiences. And this is why I think like when you talk about embracing your strangeness and embracing the diversity of the world, like how would you how would you help people embrace their strangeness and why is it important?
well, it's important because in the grand scheme of thing, it is our difference that make our strength. Um, because in one situation, maybe it's the firefighter that has the skill to get us out, but in another situation, it might be the librarian that know what to do. And if we're just saying everyone should be firefighter, we're gonna hit a wall at some point where we don't know how to open that door. So we have to be open that every single experience might be vital, not just for ourselves, but for the people around us too.
Yeah,
And by
right.
bringing those experience into writing, into art, into other creative things like that, we are also passing it along to other people. We're allowing someone to feel like they live in Italy with the children by living through that short story or whatever that we wrote. So
Yeah.
it is important to both have those different experiences, accept that we're different, and look to be different. Like we don't have to follow other people. If it fits, it fits. But if it doesn't, then it's important to embrace the different.
Well, so I want to talk specifically about that, about embracing the difference or embracing the strangeness or embracing your weaknesses. You know, I think sometimes people who have felt like outsiders or who don't feel like they fit in, they're weirdlings, right? Maybe they're
Yeah.
weirdlings. And how after so much time of kind of having that negative story about yourself or having that negative experience with the way other people interact with you, what would be like a step somebody could take to start embracing their own uniqueness and their own strangeness?
Well, if you're someone that is relatively creative, sit down and ask yourself, what is the situation where this thing would actually be a strength? So, for example, we I had a conflict with my father, which he was an early riser, and I was a person that would be more like a night owl. And then one day I told my father, well, if people weren't like me, night owl, you wouldn't have bread in the morning because there would be no baker that would stay up all night making your bread before you wake up at 5 a.m. to get your toasts. And then my negative thing that I've had always been told that that was bad, that I was, getting up so late and sleeping so late, was now a strength, just a strength in a different context. So, is there a context in which your brain or your way of thinking or your way of doing things would actually be a strength? And then how can you bring more of that into your life?
Wow, I really love that so much. It's just like a second ago when you said there's certain situations where the firefighter is going to have the answer, and there's other situations where it's the librarian. And imagine everybody do this right now today. Write down the thing that you don't like about yourself, the thing that you think is strange, the thing that you think makes you different or not be able to stand out, and do what Ryphna just said. Where would that thing be needed? Why is that a strength? What situation would somebody be happy that you were that way? I mean, wow, what great advice. I just love that so much, Ryphna, because I think so much time is spent trying to conform to these little tiny little boxes that we're given in the culture, these little tiny boxes of here's what it means to be everything, of course, male, female, yada, 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 but
Yeah.
also just what it means to be an entrepreneur, what it means to work at home, what it means to
Yeah.
have an online business. We buy into it. And so we really just we have to be our own best advocates, I guess, really is what you're saying.
Absolutely. And another thing we that helps a lot is I love I love anthropology. I love thinking about how people lived in other place, in other culture, but also in other time. So think about it. How long have we been online entrepreneur? Only like what? Maximum 30 years? Like that's a blimp in history. Now ask yourself, how were people entrepreneurs 100 year ago, 200 years ago, 1,000 year ago? How were they entrepreneur? And what can you learn by thinking about how they were entrepreneur? Do you have qualities that would have made you an awesome merchant or artisan or courrier, whatever? And that you can then look at that and be like, well, those are strengths. How can I bring them into now? And yeah, a
That's
lot of
so
people are going to be
funny.
like, oh, that's useless. That's useless. But that's because they don't see far enough. Find the moment where there's like a crossroad where your thing fit.
I
It's going to
love
be in
that. I
between.
think I love that visual. I keep seeing myself like with one of those traveling containers that they open up and they sell stuff on. What
Yes.
were those called? Do you
Yes.
remember? Like, here, buy this. Buy this. Here it is. Oh, it's a good visual. I'm wondering too, it feels to me like so many of the suggestions you're giving, you're using creativity to solve your solutions. You're using out of the box thinking to solve your questions or solve your solutions. And, do we give ourselves credit for how creative we are? Or do we stifle our creativity? Like, let's just talk about creativity a little bit.
Well, yeah, a lot of people stifle their creativity because they also think that there's only one way to be creative. For example, they're going to be like, well, a novel should have, that many chapter. It should have the journey of the hero. It should meet the master, whatever, whatever, whatever. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but the guy that wrote a story 1,000 years ago didn't have someone telling him about the hero's journey. They just sat down and they wrote the story, okay? Or
Right,
they
right.
just grab a bunch of friends and they told the story around a campfire. And maybe sometime they did it alone, and maybe the guys around the campfire helped them. And all of that was valid. So why is it not valid now? Well, that's just because of gatekeeper. The first rule of being a weirdling is that you look where the gatekeepers are and you say, no, thank you.
Wow, that's so, it's funny because I was thinking that there felt like a follow-up question of needing to be brave or, really, learning to appreciate who you are and all this stuff. But I think, and especially, I don't know, you maybe noticed this in the club too. I think that we tend to attract people who are kind of rebels anyway. And it feels to
Absolutely.
me like what you're saying is this isn't even about having to just, not that self love is a bad thing or being courageous is a bad thing, but it's more about going, you know what? I don't like that box. Yeah, I'm not going to be put in that box. And to the gatekeeper, see you later. I got my own key. you know? I
Yes.
mean,
And,
it's
and then
really just about rejecting that.
yeah, and you find other people that don't want the gatekeeper. I mean, why did Amazon start selling? Why Amazon created the ebook? They created the ebook because they said, no, thank you, gatekeepers of traditional publishing. We're going to
Yeah.
do our own thing. And then people jumped on it because they were like, yeah, we also think no, thank you. We want to publish things. And
Yeah.
so they jumped
Yeah.
in. And it's the same with everything. Like YouTube was so big because then you didn't need a director, a producer, a studio. You could just do it with your phone. What
Wow.
is that?
Right.
That's gatekeeping that are removed. We are in a world where we're heading straight toward removing more and more and more gatekeeping. But
Yeah.
there's new ones that show up. Of course, there's new ones that show up because humans, they like gatekeeping each other. Well, we have to be like, no, I'm not going to be a gatekeeper to others. And I'm going to say no, thank you when I say a gatekeeper.
Yeah.
I want
We're we're
more.
we're freedom seekers, baby. That's what we're freedom seekers. We want, and I love it that we are set up in a world that's looking for more and more of that. You're so right. You know, Rifna, I want to bring it back to mindset
Yep.
before we close, because I know one of the things you can speak to powerfully is, you know, anxiety or stress, and like how to turn that around so that you're moving out of those feelings that are so limiting for your creativity and for your life. And how do you help? What would you recommend to people who are experiencing high stress or anxiety? Like, how can they start to take those baby steps towards shifting?
Well, first, you have to start talking to yourself. Okay? So take a journal, take something to write, and take a moment to talk to yourself because you don't hear all the worries. When you have anxiety, you think it's like five sentences that you repeat, but sometimes it's a lot more, and sometimes they're hiding under things. You say, "Oh, the dishes aren't done," but really, your real worry is not that. It's that I don't know. Your mother's on international travel, and you're worried about her, but you don't hear that. You're just clouded in everything. So stop and talk to yourself. That's the first step. Second, creativity is a double-edged sword. When it's lined with the good things, it's really powerful. But it can also like create a lot of worries. R- just recognize it. I- Someone that is creative can create thousands of bad scenario while realign. Start creating good scenario, at least one good scenario for every bad scenario. And that's going to help you like calm down and realize, wait, the world is kind of balanced. Like you don't know what's going to happen, but there's as much chance as something amazing happening as something bad happening.
True, true. 100%. It's kind of like you can use your mind for worry, or you can use your mind for dreaming, you know, fantasizing the good rather than fantasizing the bad, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And
Yeah.
be nice to yourself. That's like the main thing is that even when you worry, don't beat yourself up. Like it's okay. Like everyone worries. You
Yes.
just have to sit down and be like, okay, I need to take care of myself. I need to relax. I need to, do something happy. And then it's going to be better. And then I can address whatever is stressing me out.
I totally love this so much. You're so right. And it's just such goodness. This is just great, Ripna. Thank you so much for being here with us. Do you have any parting advice that you'd like to give everybody before we say goodbye?
That's always the $100 question. Parting advice. Yeah, look at things like in context. Don't just look at that email you didn't send. Look at everything else that was happening around it. Did you do
Yeah.
other things that you didn't put on your list? Like have a done list. And just look at all you get done, even if you didn't do X or Y. And sometimes the stuff you get done is also like, I had to walk to get gas because my car was out of gas. Well, that's something you did.
It
Like,
still counts.
it still counts.
Yeah,
So,
it's so good.
so then look at that and be like, okay, well, I did all those things, even if that email wasn't sent. And that's important because there's a huge tax on our time and on our energy from everything else happening. And we need to recognize that instead of just being like beating ourselves on that.
Isn't
That's
that
what
the
I have to
truth?
say.
Like, be like, really, like, look at everything in context. I love that so much. It's so true. Thank you so much, Ryphna. You know, this is exactly what I'm talking about. When Ryphna says to do this, this is really about celebrating the wins. You know, you probably have more wins than you think you do, but we get our minds so occupied with beating ourselves up, you know, we don't do it. And so I love all the points that they brought up about just how to be yourself, how to be different, how to be weird, how to be creative, how to take back your time, use your time like you want to, how to say no to the gatekeeper and build your life and build your business the way you want. So much good stuff. I know you loved Ryphna as much as I did. I want to let you know they have a freebie for you. It is a diamond font. Now, this is a hand drawn font that they normally sell on their website. And you can go look at the link in the description, opt in, get the link so that you can get that for free. They're giving it to you for free, something that people normally pay for. Not only is Ryphna giving you a free gift, but all of our speakers are giving you free gifts and all of our sponsors. Like today, we have Lynn Bohart giving a free gift of Great Idea to Great Story micro ebook. So it gives you the 12 decisions to make that help you finish your rough draft of your novel. Talk about simpatico here, talking about creativity. So go and check out Lynn's free gift. Go and check out Ryphna's free gift. Go and check out everybody who's on today, all of our sponsors. And also, while you're looking at those links in the description, do make sure to check out the Positive Mindset Entrepreneurs Club. That's where all of these cool people, aren't they so interesting? Hasn't this been amazing to hear from all these people building their businesses their way, doing things on their own path? And they bring so much to the pie. You know, when you're in the club, you can tag Ryphna, you can ask questions. And Ryphna is known for like fantastic discussions and advice, and we all help each other. We build because we're more together. We build because we create better together, because we work and play off of each other. So when you sign up now for the Positive Mindset Entrepreneurs Club, I will send you this pen in the mail. This is the pen of expectation. Everything you write with it will come true. And yes, I mail it worldwide. You can get it anywhere in the world. Isn't that fantastic? I want to give you Ryphna's mantras. Feeling good is enough. And I love this one. What would the atoms do? That's atoms with an ADDAMS. I'm going to start thinking of that from now on. What would the atoms do? Remember, I'm going to be back here at the top of the hour. That's 28 minutes from now. We're going to be talking at that time to Leslie Tyson. She helps solopreneurs with AI strategy. Ooh, I know that's going to be hot, right? Don't we want to talk about AI? Join me right here in 28 minutes for the Joypreneur Summit continues. Thank you so much. I will see you then.